Alright, do-it-yourselfers, I'm on site once again doing a ton of repairs for a property management company. These people own a ton of apartments and they got a ton of work for me to do. They want me to install fire alarms all day long and they pay me good enough to do it. I'm going to do it. But in some of these situations I go in to install these things, they want them hardwired. I don't want to necessarily have to tell people you got to move your furniture so I can find a good place to put this. I want them installed in certain locations with certain recommendations which I have to comply to. That means cutting holes in wall, taking measurements, dealing with insulation, bricks behind the wall, studs that I didn't anticipate running into. And I looked around and guess what I seen on the wall? There's a bunch of plates covering up some electrical boxes with electrical wires inside. Some of those wires have electricity, some of them don't. You see, the wires that's in these boxes at one point in time was wired up to supply power to baseboard heaters. So that's 240 volts. Some of them have power on them, some of them don't. The one in this video was completely unhooked. That's the breaker on the bottom right hand corner. No wires going to it. I did look around the box and I found two. Put my probes on these wires, run them over to the ones that's coming out of the box, and I verified that that's the wire that I'm looking for. Afterwards, I stripped the wires down, I unscrewed the neutral terminal screws, I plugged that wire up, then I take the hot wire and I plug it up to one side of that breaker. You see, if you got wires running to both sides of that breaker, it's going to give you your 240 volts. If you're running it only to one side of that breaker, it's going to give you the 120 volts that you need. Once that's wired up, I turn the breaker into the off position. I go over to the electrical box, cut me a hole out where I want it at, about 2.5 feet up, feed my Romex wire down through it, wire nut them together. Put my new junction box in place up top, wire it up, and install my fire alarm. Then all I had to do was put the cover back on the breaker box, flip that breaker on, and I was ready to rock and roll and move on to the next one.